Welcome to the Inside the Sales Playbook show, where on each and every episode, we dive into the actual sales processes, the plays, the strategies working for teams today. No high-level overview, no fluff. We get into the weeds of what some of the fastest growing and most successful sales teams and companies are doing today to drive revenue and grow their businesses. And we've got two sponsors on the Inside the Sales Playbook show. Our first is Sales Kit. Yes, Sales Kit takes the guesswork out of scaling your sales knowledge and your sales organization all on one great platform. No longer do you need to retrain your sales team with various docs, Dropbox folders, 3-ring binders. Who knows what else you have that you're using for sales training. On that note, only 18% of what you're teaching your sales team is actually being retained. So SalesKit makes it easier than ever for your team to access the sales knowledge that actually works. And you can sign up for a free trial at getsaleskit.com. And we're sponsored by my book, Raise Your Standards, the definitive guide to building 7-figure sales. You can get a free copy of that book to help grow your sales, whether you're an entrepreneur, a sales leader, or a sales contributor at getsaleskit.com/book. I'm your host, Mark Evans, and today we have a great show. Mr. Henry DeVries, the CEO and acquisitions editor of Indie Books International, is joining us. I know it's going to be a fun show. So, Henry, welcome.
Mark, it's so exciting to be here to get down in the weeds on sales. That's where I like to be.
Awesome. Well, this is going to be fun. Henry, how about you give the listeners some context? Maybe they can figure it out from the title of the name of your company, but what is Indie Books International and how do you help your clients achieve their mission ultimately?
I work with independent consultants who want to attract high-paying clients by marketing with a book and a speech. So not only do I help them get the book, I help them get the speech, I help them get the speaking engagements. As a professional speaker, I train people on how to persuade with a story. Your story matters. And for a lot of people, I write a column for Forbes.com on business development, and I see how many independent consultants talk about their business in the same drab way. But they have a hidden asset they don't realize. And in these emotional times, and let's say 2020 is emotional times.
I would agree.
In these emotional times, you have to be a storyteller. And you have to tell a story that the prospects will be interested in. And that's your hidden asset, your defining story. So I work with people on that. And as a result of working with me, people get a ROI of 400 to 2,000%. We document that. And they get more impact and influence. And that's what we're about.
So it's really brokering the influence, the almost like the social recognition of, ooh, that's an author, that's a speaker, that's someone I need to be working with. And the vehicle that you choose to do that with is helping publish a book or helping publish, get ready a speech. Yeah, that's a vehicle I'm familiar with as well, and one that works really, really well.
Sure, as an author, you know that. My motto is, the book is the number one marketing tool. Speaking about the book is the number one sales strategy.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Well, Henry, of all the things you could have done, right? You're a smart guy. You've done a lot. You're writing for Forbes. Of all the things you could have done, why the hell did you choose sales? How'd you even get into this entrepreneur and sales game?
Sales chose me at the age of 15. I wanted money, and I saw an ad for door-to-door Fuller Brush salesperson.
Ooh, a Fuller Brush salesman. Okay.
But the problem was you had to drive 20 miles to report to work. And I'm 15. I don't have a car or a license. So my first sales was my sister. So I said, you're 18. You've got a car. This will be a great job. We'll go off and do it. And we started to sell Fuller Brush, and we became the top 1-2 salesperson for this man in his region.
Really?
And learned some real good basics there.
Yeah, I bet. I could only imagine with that. So the first sale was selling your sister on driving you. The second was the actual door-to-door sales. That's pretty awesome. I really, really like that. You touched on it a little bit before, Henry. 2020 has been an emotional year. What do you think, though? What do you see, and what do you think is really separating the okay organizations or leaders from the great ones right now, and the ones that are really coming out of hopefully this pandemic? Hopefully the horizon is coming up shortly here. The ones that are coming out on top and with some success.
2020 has been hard. Now, indie books, we're no Zoom or toilet paper, but we're doing fine. We grew 20% during the pandemic because we came out very early with the message, never been a better time to write a book, never been a better time to pivot. I was in the American Airlines Million Mile Club. I was titanium at Marriott. I haven't been on an airplane since February, and I have no plans to be on one through 2021. Wow. So the pivot is the problems are still out there. You need to do a Zoominar monthly. I do too. You need to get on podcasts like we're doing right now. You need to declare your next book. My next book is Rainmaker Confidential. So I've been interviewing top people in professional service firms that are growing during the pandemic. And I'm getting like, what are you doing more of? What are you doing less of? What's your go-to strategy? And the go-to strategy has been to give away valuable information about prospects' problems and how they can solve them in general. And the more you do that, the luckier you get at having people hire you for the specifics.
So it's really, so with that information, and let's call it that lead making, giving away that valuable information is helping. I would imagine that the problem becomes more of an issue for them, especially if they're looking out to solve it. And then that individual is selling the actual, like the how to, like here's the concept, but we'll sell the actual how to in a process or in a service. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say. Now, I write about lead generation and lead conversion for Forbes.com. So I can go in either direction here on what's working in those two areas. So it'll be your call.
Let's, can we do both? We've got time for both.
Yeah.
How about let's start with lead generation. What do you think is really working well in lead generation right now?
Well, I talk about the Magnificent Seven. So the Magnificent Seven in this rank order are one, small scale seminars that you put on. And these days we put them on Zoom. I'm not against WebEx or anything like that. If that's your platform of choice, that's fine. But that's number one. Number two, obtain speaking engagements in front of target-rich environments. So conferences are still going on. I put on a large conference this year. It had been in person for 50 years. We took it and increased its numbers by 100%. We doubled attendance by going online. I got speakers who we never could have landed when we were live, people like Malcolm Gladwell to come in because it's virtual. It's a new virtual world. Wow. That's number two.
Real quickly, Henry, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but where does someone go and find these speaking engagements? I can already hear some listeners saying, that sounds like a great idea, but where do I even start, Henry, to try to find a speaking engagement that's in my target market, for example?
I'll give your listeners the dirty little secret. Relationships. You mine relationships, and if you don't have relationships, you build them. So I've learned, I was always looking for the magic bullet on how I can talk to strangers on the internet and get them to book me. And I'm paid $5,000 to $10,000 when I'm paid to speak. So I'd like more of those gigs.
Yeah.
And then they started coming, but they were coming from people who knew me, who said, oh, yeah, I read your book. I knew you, would you speak here? And what do you charge? And all that. I thought I was cheating. Actually, I had figured out the secret. So this book I told you about, Rainmaker Confidential, I would love to speak more to professional service firms on business development. So what am I doing first? I'm interviewing those people for Forbes. I'm sending them free copies of my book. One said, "Oh, gee, would you be interested in leading a retreat for my firm?" So I waited 3 seconds for dignity, 3, and said, "Thank you for asking," and started the conversation. I also call it the Trojan horse strategy.
Okay.
Got it from somebody I interviewed. Everything I do is R&D, rob and duplicate. I'm just robbing and duplicating great ideas from other people. But he called it the Trojan horse strategy, where you kind of come in unaware, you build the relationship, and you do things for other people without asking for the sale, the meeting, the gain. So when you do ask for the appointment, when you do ask, you're not somebody who only contacts them when they need something or want something or want to sell them something.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. And then they'll actually take your phone calls. They'll actually respond to your emails. All right. Before I rudely interrupted you, you were on the Magnificent 7. We're on number 2 of obtain speaking engagements. Is the Trojan horse strategy, is that part of one of the 7, or is there others?
It's all of the 7. Okay. All these things work together for it. Number 3 is get published. Now, I didn't start at Forbes.com. I'm paid to write 5 articles a month. I've been a journalist since I was 15. And I'm 63 now. So it's always been in my blood. But I started writing for the San Diego Daily Transcript. It's a paper that they have columns so all the ads don't bump into each other. And then, but I've written for CBS Money Watch and Inc.com. Wow. And moved up the ladder. But anybody can do the strategy. LinkedIn, you can use LinkedIn as your site to post regular articles. And I don't say do a blog anymore. You do it on LinkedIn because it's connected to the world's largest B2B business database, and it's fully searchable.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's I just really there. Like that. Okay. Number 4 is do volunteer work for target-rich associations. So, and I call it a target-rich environment. So that conference I helped put on was for the Institute of Management Consultants, which is the largest national group of independent consultants. So for years, I've become their new best friend, helping them in volunteering, and have gotten many clients as a result. Number 5 is networking. A lot of people go, "Oh, I can't network anymore." It's just shifted. There's lots of things you can do to network. And in this virtual world, even serving on that committee is a form of networking. Mm-hmm. At I'm doing a conference for authors and speakers in March, and part of it is I'm going to have breakout networking groups. It's just no speaker for the time period. It's be in groups and move around and get to know each other. Mm-hmm. I'm also having a speaking competition where you speak for 2 to 3 minutes. Well, that's networking with everybody.
Yeah,
it's networking
I like that
the platform.
Yeah.
Number 6 is get your internet game plan together, but this means LinkedIn, which we've talked about, in YouTube. YouTube. More people are searching for how-to advice on YouTube than on Google. Wow. Google's okay with that because they own both.
It's all win for Google.
It's a win for Google, but what you've got to do is do how-to topics in under 2 minutes. Because when people are looking at it, say, "Oh, what do I want? How to generate leads during the pandemic." Oh, 90 seconds. Well, I'll click on that.
Yeah.
An hour and 5 minutes. No, I don't got time for that.
My business isn't important enough for 65 minutes worth.
Right. I got things to do today.
Yeah.
Not go to a restaurant, a ball game, a movie, but I got things to do.
Lots of things
so that's
to do.
6. Number 7 is paid workshops. And in Zoom, I had resisted, in the Zoom pandemic world, I had resisted until October. And then I do a master class every month, 3 hours with 7 other authors or would-be authors on how to write a book. So they get to network with each other. They get feedback from me. It's 365. It's a form of lead generation. But you have to have content so valuable, people are willing to pay for it. And it still finishes 7th. I don't make my livelihood out of 365 from 8 people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an entry point. I call it the step ladder. It's just a step on the ladder.
Yeah, that makes sense. For the ultimate, which I would imagine is going for your full program, which would be probably publishing the book and doing also the speech as well.
I advise everybody to have a ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Buying your book is on the ladder. Attending your class is on the ladder. Signing up for a workbook or a work session on the ladder. And then when we get to lead conversion, there's something very important on the ladder that I find, Mark, many people miss, and they miss out on this step, and it's the game changer.
Well, what's that most important step on the ladder, if you'd be willing to share with the audience?
Certainly. Offering a no-cost strategy call. So a no-cost strategy call, and people don't want to be sold to. They're afraid of us as salespeople. Ooh, I get a salesperson in there, they're going to clomp onto me and all that. So you don't want to position it like that at all. I have a simple formula. You're going to talk to people about 4 subjects. You're going to help them get clarity on 4 subjects. Subject 1, their goals. What will this, for me, it's what will a book do for you? But for whatever you're doing, what would this service do for you?
Yeah.
Let them say it in their words. If people say to me, oh, I want more credibility, I want more leads, I know we're going to have a good conversation. If they say, well, I want to be a million seller, New York Times, and make $1 million on the book, I say, that's awesome. Here's somebody you can go talk to.
Yeah.
A star maker. Now, number 2 is assets. I tell people that let's get clear on the assets you have. And I'm not talking financial. I'm talking, in the book world, intellectual property. Have you written articles, blogs? Do you do podcasts? Have you given speeches? Do you have a workshop? Do you have a curriculum? These are all things that can be turned into a book. Number 3 are, what are your roadblocks? Now, in my world, I knew their roadblocks. I've helped over 300 people do a business book. But as a salesperson, my closing rates increased dramatically when I got stupid. And I didn't tell people what their roadblocks were. I said, so what are your roadblocks? I found out prospects were intimately aware of their roadblocks.
Okay.
And they would share, well, it's time, it's money, I don't have the knowledge to do this. I'm taking notes. They're giving me the instructions.
Mm-hmm.
And then anybody, I could train a robot. I used to say a monkey, but that's insulting to monkeys. Some monkeys would find that statement insensitive, so I don't do it. But I can train a robot to ask the first 3 questions. It's sort of like those therapists who go, tell me more.
Yeah.
And then how does that make you feel? It's just, anybody can do that. Question number 4, Mark. I need the supercomputer that's in the salesperson's head. Because the question is, well, would you like to get clear on how others have gotten from where you are right now to where you want to go? And nobody's ever told me, no, I don't want to know that.
I don't want to get clear. I don't want clarity.
I don't want clarity.
I don't want to be able to sleep at night. That sounds terrible.
So that where you have to, your supercomputer has to go whir, and go, oh, that reminds me of Penny Reid's story. I said, may I tell you a story about Penny Reid? The year was 2015, the place, Memphis, Tennessee. Penny is in her 800 square foot apartment, staring at a stack of unpaid bills, has no idea how she's going to pay these bills. This apartment, and she lives there with her teenage daughter, it's a far cry from the 4,000 square foot home they used to live in with her ex-husband, who was her employer, who gave her all her client work. No house, no employer, no client work. But Penny Reid's a special woman. She said, well, if you're going to dream big. In 2 years, I'm going to be a best-selling author and speaker, and I'm going to make $200,000 a year. And that's when I met Penny Reid.
Wow.
Okay, that's the start of the Penny Reid story. I tell it in about 2 minutes when I tell it to a prospect. Now, I have other stories. I have a quiver of stories. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I train people on, is the story. Because human brains, if I give you, your listeners, one piece of science, it's this. Human brains are hardwired for stories. If you want them to think it over, give them lots of facts and figures. That part of the brain is just designed to think it over. The emotional part of the brain is also the part of the brain that's wired for stories. So you say, well, let me tell you a story. So I've written about this extensively in my book, Persuade with a Story. And if your listeners are interested, the August 2008 issue of Scientific American Mind has all the research on why human brains are hardwired for stories. But just know they are. You need to have some in your quiver. Usually one story, and I always say these are selling free zones. And I honestly, if you're more aggressive, you could go, oh, well, would you like to know how we help people? I think it poisons the water.
Yeah.
I say, just say, do you have any questions? Prospects say, oh, like, how much does it cost to work with you? Does it come in red? Can you start Tuesday? They ask buying signal questions. And you say, okay, well, this was a non-sales zone. I don't want to frustrate you. Is it okay if I, yes, please. Oh, do you want me to go on? We're in the weeds.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like that's a really approachable way, because I know a lot of people, right, they're afraid of selling, especially as you get into the professional services or the services industry, right? People don't want to be construed as that lambasted used cars salesman. So I like this approach of all you're doing is you're telling stories, you're solving problems, you're then taking the ammo that they're giving you on how they want to be sold, and then you're just opening up the door to say, well, do you want to learn more? Do you want to be sold to? Is basically what you're asking at the end of that. Yeah, I really like that.
So when they say it, I'll say, well, there's some options. You start with the most expensive option, and it has to be true that you sell this option, because people have a built-in BS detector, and it'll go off if you just, 100,000, no.
Get out of here.
I go to ghostwrite and publish a book. Starts at $20,000 to $40,000. I pause. I don't see that for you. So right there, they're like, "Woo!" Unless they're a CEO of a company. A CEO of a company, he doesn't need my help you write project. Something I might do for $3,900 or something. He doesn't have time for that.
Yeah,
I've tried it. Then they come back to me and go, "I need a ghostwriter." Oh, you want to upgrade to ghostwriting? Great.
We do that.
Yeah, we do that. Sure. Well, but they know I do it because I started off talking about it when I went down. But now I'm even to the point where, I go like, I do this master class once a month. It's $365. It's 3 hours. Comes with a one-on-one. It's like cheaper than a one-on-one session with me to go to the class and get the one-on-one.
Yeah.
And that's good for me, because I told 8 people the thing. I didn't have to tell it to 8 people over and over 8 times. Like, they all got it.
And it's just another step on the ladder.
Yeah. So then from there, where do you want to go on the ladder, as you said? And wherever you want to go on the ladder is great with me. And however high up the ladder you want to go. You should have an ultimate spot on your ladder, by the way. It's higher for me than the 20 to 40,000 ghostwritten book. I've become some people's VP of publishing.
Wow. Okay.
That's 6 figures, and I can only do one of those at a time and run Indie Books International and do the other things I do. And you don't get that out of the gate. You got to prove, you got to take some steps up the ladder before you're even qualified or eligible to get that. But what is it for you? What is at the top of your staircase? You should know it, and you should share it with prospects.
Yeah, I really like that. So always starting with that high one. So then you're anchoring the rest of your prices, having many steps on the ladder, then having that ultimate step on the ladder. I really, really like that. Since there are a lot of sales leaders listening or watching this podcast and show, Henry, how do you replicate this sales process, which seems really unique to you and to your experiences? But I'm sure there's more process to it, right? Or more systems that you can develop. How do you then systematize this for other salespeople so that you're not the only one doing the sales?
Systems is the solution. And as I say to my team, I said, Arthur Murray hasn't taught a dance class for a long time. Dale Carnegie hasn't taught anybody how to win friends and influence people in a long time. Walt Disney has not made a movie for a long time. So there are systems that they created. So I've created a series of monographs for the prospects, but also for internally on how to do everything. And I'm the acquisitions editor. In publishing, that's the fancy way of saying VP sales and marketing.
Yeah.
So I have a assistant acquisitions editor, and then I have someone under her training. So it's writing your systems down, training people on the systems. I have a goal of a mature business that it'll run without Henry DeVries. Come see my business. It runs without me. It's a money-making machine. You turn it on. These people who are trained follow it. Oh, new person? We train them, give them the system, and it makes money.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's what you want for your business. That's what you want for your sales process. Maybe I'm a lemonade stand. We're under 1 million right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I have 30 people, but I designed this to be virtual, and most of them are 1099s.
Yeah.
And we can expand or collapse.
Yeah.
Or the accordion.
Which
That's
is
the
nice.
strategy.
Yeah.
But I've been chief marketing officer for groups that I took from 22 million to 45 million, and agencies where I took from 5 to 10 million and then 10 to 20 using this process.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all sorts of processes that we follow, and you have them written down, but there needs to be a branding process, a lead generation process, and a lead conversion process. And I'm a baseball nut. I have visited 44 out of 46 Major League Baseball parks. I've got 2 to go before I touch them all.
What are the 2?
Miami, and now that the Blue Jays played this crazy year in Buffalo, that's now a Major League ballpark I'll have to go to. And next August, a buddy of mine owns the Field of Dreams, part owner of Field of Dreams in Iowa, and they're going to have a Major League Baseball game there in August. The White Sox, I think White Sox Yankees.
Oh, cool.
And that'll be my 47th, so I'll have 3 to go before I touch them all.
Wow, that is impressive.
I'm a baseball fan, but also in business. You got to keep track of your at-bats and your batting average. And there are formulas that we have. To double your revenue doesn't mean you have to double your prospects and double the business. There is this, we have sectors of potential. Our third sector of potential is people we've worked with over a year ago. There is gold in them there hills. If they used you once, don't assume that they'll find you and write you a check or know what your other services are.
Or they'll remember you, yeah.
Yeah. I have a list I called the Golden 100. My favorite 100 people who I've worked with, and it was over a year ago. And I stay in touch on a regular basis and update them on things we're doing. Tremendous referral sources, and we have people coming back. They want their second book, third book with us. Sliver of gold, sector 3, past clients.
I like that. Yeah, because there's so many people that think, well, they're a past client of mine. They'll obviously remember me if they ever have a need. Not realizing that in some cases they've gone to a new business, they've got a promotion, they've got more of a budget this time, or they're back in the saddle for wanting the service or product that you provide. That's great advice that everybody could be listening to as we've got a month left in 2020 here.
Yeah, and don't get ready to get ready. Don't spend December getting ready for January. Start now, baby.
Yeah.
The next 12 months begins today.
I like that.
Get out there and get rolling, because you don't know when they have the need for you. You just need to be out there. Somebody said once that, Henry, you're so lucky. You were in the right place at the right time. I said, I was in every place all the time.
Yeah. So call it luck. I call it just being consistent. I really
Yeah,
like that, Henry.
that's good design.
Let's close here with the final five. I think this is a great spot to do so. These will be 5 rapid fire questions. I'll ask them.
Great.
You answer them. Sound good?
Sound good.
All right, Henry. Give me your favorite sales related movie.
Uh, if I said Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, is that wrong?
No, not at all. Not at all. That's a classic and a favorite of many guests on the show. What's
But
up?
I watch it on VidAngel now because my wife thought it was about 4 people with Tourette's syndrome. There's so much profanity.
There is just not one to watch with the kids. Not one to watch with the kids. Favorite sales book?
Favorite sales book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Great understanding by Dale Carnegie of human relations and human skills. I use it all the time.
Love it. What do you know now, Henry, that you wish you would have known when you first got into sales?
Oh boy. And it's the hardest thing. It's the value of the database. And I've spent a lot of time, money, energy improving it. But the first time I went out there, back then it was a Rolodex and I hadn't built that. So it was like, oh, who are you going to call? Who can you call? And then I went to a wise veteran and he said, Henry, you need to build a bank account. You need to make deposits in this bank account all the time before you make withdrawals. He said, the bank account is relationships and you make deposits first, withdrawals you can make later.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's tough news for anybody who's either starting out or wants to hear like, well, this is the internet, right? I can get rich quick. But I think that is more true now than it ever has been before of making those deposits.
Now, when we started Indie Books International on April 1st, 2014, yes, we chose April 1st for the whimsical aspect. But when we started, we had 0 LinkedIn contacts. Now we have 12,000.
Wow.
So we built 12,000 contacts by being generous. Our brand is generosity. We give away information. I give away book copies of my books, white papers all the time, free trainings. And through that generosity, we built it up. So that would be the good news is I wish I had LinkedIn when I started at this. Officially, of all my companies, I have several. Those started February 1st, 1999. Oh. So I wish I had LinkedIn then.
That makes sense. I like that. Henry, what's a favorite purchase of yours in 2020 under $100?
My Logitech camera. I'm not relying on just the camera that came in the computer. Now, though, I'm upping my game. I'm going to start using an iPhone 10 next week, and then I'll either go to a digital single lens reflex camera, or I will go to the iPhone 11 or 12.
Nice, very nice for your Zoom meetings and web interactions.
You are now. You know this. We live on Zoom. Yeah. This is who I am. Mm-hmm. I'm improving the background. We're doing a set design for me. My office is becoming a set.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
There'll be books and, Forbes magazine and my international bestseller, How to Close a Deal Like Warren Buffett, now in Chinese. So that'll be up there because we live in the TV world now.
Yeah. Yeah, how true. Henry, who's a favorite social media follow of yours or a CEO or an executive that you're really paying close attention and you admire?
Michael Hyatt, who wrote Platform. I think that's a genius book. And Michael is certainly someone who preaches what he practices what he preaches on that.
Yeah, really like Michael Hyatt. Henry, if our listeners want to connect with you, where is the best vehicle for them to do so?
They can go to our website, Indie, INDIE, books, BOOKSINTL.com. There's also how to send an email to me on there. That's fine. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, we will make sure that we link to all of those in the show notes. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Henry DeVries with Indie Books International. Henry, thanks so much for taking us inside your sales playbook. This was an awesome conversation. I really appreciate it.
I enjoyed it. Thank you very much for what you do. This is an important work that you're doing. You're doing a noble work, and people need your information. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry.